Happy Devil's Wednesday. This is the State of the Fan address presented by pucksandpitchforks.com. I'm your host, Sam Wu, here with the editor-in-chief extraordinaire, Nick Villano, streaming live on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, X Live, and Twitch on the Let's Go Devils Network, coming live from the Primetime Radio Studios inside the bunker in both North and South Jersey, covering the entire Garden State. We're going to be talking about the New Jersey Devils, as this is the official 2025-26 Devils season preview. Nick, I'm fired up because I've been dreaming about this podcast in the last couple weeks because we're going to be back in action. Lots of things going on. And by the way, Nick, how does it feel to be part of the Let's Go Devils podcast, 1 million downloads and counting?
Sam, I've been telling everybody. I've been telling people at Wawa, like, do you know that I have a podcast that has 1 million downloads? Do you know
Wawa?
that?
Out of all places, Wawa, not Quick Check?
Yeah.
Not 7-Eleven?
No, we don't have Quick Check. I live in South Jersey. There's no Quick Checks here.
Wow.
I'll give you this. So I do a little volunteering for Make-A-Wish, and there's a Quick Check right outside the Make-A-Wish castle in it's not right outside, but it's like once you get off the turnpike, it's like right there where the castle is in Central Jersey. And I do go there, and I'm impressed by their sweets, their selection of sweets. They have so many cookies and so many brownie variations and so many different, and I'm a sweet tooth guy, so I appreciate that kind of attention to detail. Where Wawa has a lot, but they focus on the candy. And I'm not a candy guy. I like candy. Candy's fine. But I want candy I like Halloween because that's when I get my candy and then I kind of call it. You know what I mean? Like, I have a candy and then I don't have anything until Christmas candy, and then I don't have anything until the Reese's Hearts. So that's my candy. And that's where Wawa kind of focuses in. But Quick Check really gets the bakery items down to a science, and I like it.
I have a sad story to tell you. This happened to me today.
Okay.
I was hungry, and I was thinking, I would go to Wendy's or something like that. Mm-hmm. I actually saw Mr. Softy ice cream truck driving around. And because there was nobody there, he moved along, but I got in the Jeep, I flagged him down, pulled him over, thought I was a psycho, and I asked, "Are you selling any sundaes?" He's like, "Sure." Had a strawberry sundae.
That sounds like a great story.
Yeah, and I was in some parking lot. I was probably trespassing. He pulled over somewhere, I pulled over. And then I ate that thing so fast because I didn't eat anything all day. Then I got a stomach ache, and I just lost my appetite.
Can I tell you a sadder story? An actual sad story?
All right, yeah.
Because you brought up Wendy's. So
what, big bags?
Sam knows we're up against it right now. I'm not going to get into the details, but we're the Villano household is in dire straits because of some sicknesses that are going around here. So the other day we've been doing the where you do the food shopping online, you go pick it up, but we're just tired. We didn't feel like cooking, so I went to Wendy's, and I'm not a big fast food guy. As big as I am, I don't eat a ton of fast food. It is literally, road trips or there's nothing really else open, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I was like, I can't, I have no interest in cooking. So I went to Wendy's. And when I go to Wendy's, I usually just get junior bacon cheeseburgers because I'm like, I don't, this menu's insane and low-key super expensive. So I was like, all right, I'm just going to get two junior bacon cheeseburgers.
$8
and a side of barbecue sauce. Yeah, whatever. So I get 2 junior bacon cheeseburgers. They charge me for junior bacon cheeseburgers. Come home, no bacon.
What?
There's no bacon on my junior bacon cheeseburgers. To both of them.
Wow.
Just charged me for bacon and gave me no bacon. And it's just far enough away, and we're dealing with just enough at home to not go back and, be like, give me my bacon. But, so I was out the money. I was out the bacon. It was a sad story.
That is pretty sad.
I was upset.
Yeah, I mean, I thought my story was sad. I mean, once you hear that, that ice cream song that Mr. Softy plays, sometimes I play it on my phone. It just brings you back to, being 5 years old, and having to have it, even though you didn't really were craving it for it, but you just had to have it. Yeah.
We once every 2 weeks, a Mr. Softy comes down our street. It's great. Just walk outside and get some Mr. Softy. So I understand that. But this is the Devils season preview, Sam, and I don't know if people came here there about Mr. Softy and Wendy's with no bacon.
They're talking about it on the YouTube Live. Steve Engel still says, Mr. Softy, is the thing even today.
Yeah.
And I even thought about, quitting everything and just owning one of these Mr. Softies. And just working out of a truck and do my podcast from a Mr. Softy truck. That actually crossed my mind this past summer. But, but anyway, I think we should probably
there, routes? Like, do you have to get, permits and stuff?
Yeah, you have your own territory. I actually did some due diligence on it. You have to have, you'll have your territory. And where I used to work, there was a Mr. Softy truck that would come around at the cul-de-sac.
Yeah.
And because I was all miserable at work, that's where the daydreaming started. Like, hey, I can be that guy. So, and I knew the average price of each item. And as people were buying ice cream by the droves, I was literally...
You were doing the calculation.
I was doing the calculation at my office window. And I'm like, wow. If I did that, and then it's $157,000 a year.
Yeah.
If you did it right in the summertime only.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
anyway, speaking of summertime only, we're talking about wintertime only because it's New Jersey Devils hockey season, Sam.
Yeah.
I'm excited because I've grown to really like this team as the preseason went on and training camp went on because a lot of questions got answered about this team in training camp. The biggest question coming in, Sam, was the forward lines. Like, how is everything gonna fall into place? The biggest question was, how do you use Gritsuk? Gritsuk? I think it's Gritsuk.
Just call him Gritsuk. It sounds cooler. We'll make it up.
Yeah. Gritsuk, I think, might have had one of the better preseasons in the league. 5 points in 6 games. Really looked the part. Had a lot of high-danger chances. Really got himself in great positions. There's some defensive deficiencies that he's going to have to work on, but you expect that with any rookie and anybody getting used to kind of going from the KHL-style game to the NHL-style game. But he's an NHL player, and that's what you needed to see from him. Are you an NHL player? He is, easily. Some people are surprised that he's starting on the fourth line. I'm relatively surprised, but I think that line is going to be utilized a lot. The line is Glendening, Gritsuk, and Cotter. That Cotter-Gritsuk pairing, first of all, I do think you might see them move Glass to that line and make that the third line at some point. So right now, the quote-unquote third line is Connor Brown, Andre Palat, and Cody Glass. I think you might see the forwards move up. I love Cotter. I liked him a lot last year. He fell off towards the end of the season for sure. Went through a really bad offensive slump, but he's a kind of guy that when he's on, he's as important to your lineup as anybody. So I think that he's somebody you definitely want to put a spotlight on a little bit. So I love that pairing of him and Grisick, and they're playing like gangbusters. Like, they were amazing together. The other question is, how are you going to deal with the top 6? I said that they need to put Dawson Mercer there. I wanted Dawson Mercer with Jack Hughes. The numbers are incredible with him together with Jack Hughes. He doesn't have a lot of time with Hughes and Bratt. So I understand that maybe they didn't like the pairing with the three of them. Mercer ends up on a line with Heischer and Meyer. I don't think you're going to take a lot of the top 6 from preseason. You just kind of want to see a little bit of chemistry being built. Mercer, Meyer, and Heischer have been on this team long enough that, like, you don't have to build chemistry there. The very place you did have to build chemistry was with Dodanoff, with Hughes and Bratt. And they tried a couple other combinations, and it never looked as good as it did with Dodanoff, Hughes, and Bratt. So I think that's a great pairing to start the season. I think he's 33 years old. Did I want 33-year-old Evgeny Dadonov, the guy who's like going to drive the Devils forward with Jack Hughes in a big year? On paper, no, but there's so many guys. There's so many examples of guys like a Dadonov who go on those lines and score 30 goals, and I'm not predicting a 30-goal season from Dadonov. It's just kind of an example, but he, I think the Devils are in a place where they are uniquely equipped to really ride this out and play an 82-game season. Listen, they don't have a replacement for Jack Hughes if he gets injured. They don't have a replacement for Nico Hischier if he gets injured. But pretty much everywhere else, like, Utica's kind of stacked with the forwards. And they're all, like, third and fourth line guys. But I can move up a Connor Brown for a couple games and bring up an Angus Cruikshank or a Thomas Bordelot or Brian Hallinan or there's a couple really good guys down there in Utica that you could call up and they can play decent minutes for you. And then on the defensive side, things really fell into place. Nemeth looking as good as he does is huge. He looked great in the preseason, except for that one goal he gave up. He made a couple. That's the Nemeth thing. I kind of point out, like, he's kind of like Severson. And Severson was great the year he was on the third line. So you put Nemeth on the third line, he's going to look great. I think Brendan Dillon kind of has a new lease on life after that neck surgery. I think I've said it before on this podcast. I've said it in the articles on puckspitchworks.com. I think he's going to be much better this year. I don't think he's going to be better than a really good third-line defenseman, but that's what the Devils need. Pesci's back on the ice today. He's healthy, so him and Luke Hughes are going to look really good together. I think Luke Hughes is going to explode this year. I think that's my main takeaway, and that's going to be my bold predictions. That's going to be the Pucks and Pitchfork season preview where all of our writers write. It's coming out tomorrow morning, first thing in the morning. We're going to have all day to just mull over our predictions and yell at us or tell us that we're great. But one of the big ones is I think that Luke Hughes is getting 60 this year. I'm going to put it out there. I think Luke Hughes is getting 60 points this year. I think Luke Hughes is going to explode. A lot of these people, the Athletic ranked the Devils defense 15th in the league, and I thought that was absolutely insane. They have teams like Toronto ahead of them. It seems like Montreal, who's just riding the Lane Hudson hype wave. The Devils are going to have a top 8 defense at worst this year, and I think they should easily have a top 5 defense. And that's without Kovacevic for half the year. I think once he comes back, you're going to be in really good shape. And then the goalies, you got Markstrom and Allen back. I think they're going to be just as good as they were last year, minus the injuries. And here's the thing, Sam. I think this is an X factor. A lot of these guys have reasons to be motivated by the Olympics. A lot of these guys are looking at the Olympics, and that's Luke Hughes is trying to get on the team. I think that's why he's going to get 60 points, because he wants to be on the Olympic team. And he wants to prove the contract right, and there's other reasons, but Luke Hughes really wants to go there with his brothers, and that's where the conversation is gonna be like, how great is this? How great is this? You know what I mean? Like you're gonna hear a lot of that, and Nico Hischier and Timo Meyer are in a place where they kind of want to prove themselves with Team Switzerland. Meyer, I don't know. I'm not going to predict a big season for Meyer because I want to, but I don't know if I see it. He's on the second power play again. The second power play is much better this year. The second power play is Meyer, Gritsik, Dadonov, Hamilton. Is Palat the other guy?
Well, on the power play?
Yeah, I know the first power play is Mercer, Hischier, Hughes, Bratt, and Luke Hughes.
Yeah.
The second power play is
Palat,
Dadonov, Gritsik,
Dougie Hamilton.
Timo Meyer. I can't remember who that fourth person is. But anyway, the
Mercer? No, or is he in PP1?
Mercer's in the first. I'm just going to look it up real quick while we're talking. But I think that the special teams are going to be incredible again. I think the big thing with the special teams is you got to figure out what went wrong in the playoffs that you just were terrible at special teams. Yeah, it's Palat, unfortunately, but it's fine. What went wrong in the playoffs? Why were you terrible in the playoffs?
Well, there are a lot of reasons why. An injured Jack Hughes bringing the puck over the line. I mean, they were too predictable. But you were the
only team in the playoffs to not score a power play goal. All 16 teams, 15 of the 16 teams scored a power play goal except for the Devils.
But Carolina,
they had a lot of opportunities.
Carolina was blocking the entire time.
Yeah, they have a great penalty kill.
Yeah.
I think they have the best in the league. So I get it. But the Devils have the third best power play. Even when Hughes is out, they still have a great power play. You got to figure out, and you kind of have to prepare, right? You have to prepare a little bit. Like, what does life look like without Jack Hughes? Because we've done this in the playoffs, or in 24, they didn't make the playoffs, but we ended the season without Jack Hughes twice. We kind of have to at least know what that life looks like. You know what I mean? You just have to. You have to be prepared. I don't think Jack Hughes is injury prone. I think the year before, that injury scared me more than last year's injury. Last year's injury was a fluke. Like, Jack Eichel dirtily hit him, and it caused him to injure his shoulder. But again, I do think that if you're Sheldon Keefe, you got to prepare. So I just but again, I think that a lot of people have it right in the nose. I think the Devils are going to end up in second place. I think there's a lot that can happen with the Metro. I think the odds-on favorite makes sense with Carolina, but I wouldn't be floored if Carolina got second or third. I wouldn't be floored if the Devils won. I wouldn't be floored if Washington wins again. I know a lot of people are kind of down on Washington. They had big PDO, which is this advanced stat that says like you're scoring more than you should. But you got Alex Ovechkin, and he's kind of the X factor there. If he's Alex Ovechkin of last year, I think they could do it again. If he's Alex Ovechkin of 2 years ago, then they're not going to be in first place. Like, they're just not. And then their goalies have to play like they did last year. If they can win this division again. But I think the Devils are going to get second, whether it's Washington or Carolina in first. That's fine. I think you saw last night, New York, the Rangers are just a flawed team. A lot of issues there. And I think that, they'll be fighting for a wild card because of Shesterkin and a bounce back year and Panarin in a contract year. But that only takes you so far. We've seen that before. You know what I mean? So, that was a lot, Sam, but what are your thoughts?
Well, I think Pittsburgh is going to be a lot better than what people think or give them credit for. I think a lot of writers, pundits, have written them off. when you look at those predictions, I think they're going to be a dangerous team. That's
I
my
saw
opinion.
one person have them in the playoffs. Ahead of the Devils, actually. They had the Pittsburgh in third and the Devils in fourth.
And it could happen. I think the Rangers, there's going to be an adjustment period with their new coach. And you're right, they are a flawed team right now. There has been, changes in the last 2 years. Who's going to step up leadership wise? The Washington Capitals surprised us all last season, the way they played. And
although I predicted them to go to the playoffs.
Okay.
I did predict them to go to the playoffs. I thought they'd be like the third or the fourth seed, but because I liked the goalies they got. I did. I liked the guy from Vegas that his name's escaping me. And they have Charlie Lindgren.
But I think I talked to Chico Resch yesterday, and I posed this on the Woo Report yesterday. When Chico and I were talking, we're looking at the lineup, right? The projected lineup.
Yeah.
Everything looks good on paper right now. Except, and Chico alluded in our conversation when he was with the Islanders. I think he felt that's back in 1979 with the Islanders. They were just one player away. Impactful player away. And that's when that Butch Goring trade happened.
Yeah.
And the rest is history, the domino effect. He felt with this current lineup, with Daninoff on that left wing, with Jack Hughes and Jesper Bratt, he felt that Fitzy, if he can get that sniper to play with Jack, this team has a real shot of winning the cup. He felt strongly about that the dominoes will fall, just like happened in 1979. And, and it's kind of an open discussion throughout the season to our fans, as the season goes along. Could there be a trade deadline deal? But it's not like you can get a winger like that. They're not a dime a dozen.
Right.
And you mentioned Jason Robertson's name several times during the off season. I want to know your opinion because when Chico and I discussed that, I'm like, you got something here, Chico, because the goalies are fine. Defense, there's depth. It's got a balance of experience, grit, and youth. Assuming that the bottom six will hold their own, the top six, that's that one little thing that can turn Jack Hughes into a 120-point player.
So here's what I think is going to happen. I do think a trade's going to happen. I think a trade's going to happen sooner rather than later. I think when Nason comes back, whenever that is, I think we're a couple weeks away, but whenever that is, I think the Devils are going to start really hitting the phones and saying, all right, guys, like you got this player injured. Like, you call Florida and be like, oh, you lost Rodriguez now? Like, we got this Andre Palat guy. 15 to 20 goals, but in the playoffs he's going to show up for you kind of thing. And I think they're going to sell that story. And I think they're going to get somebody to take on Palat. What that's going to do, it's going to get you out of long-term injured reserve, and it's going to allow you to accumulate cap space throughout the year. And it's going to allow them to, put together this package that they can acquire a big name. The names that are on my radar, Robertson's on my radar, Sam, but I just don't think that they can afford him moving forward. So I actually wrote an article a couple weeks ago about the possibility that the Devils would do what Columbus did years ago and trade for Kirill Kaprizov as a mercenary. They have excess prospects that they could make a move like that if you're really going all in. Obviously, he resigned for the biggest contract in NHL history, so that's kind of out the door. But
I'm going to name
I
one
think
name. I'm going to name one name.
okay, you go first, and then I'll react.
And it's not Kachuk, either one of them, because I don't think it's
Right.
realistic.
Yeah, I don't
for
think.
Brady.
I think that's off the table. But yeah.
Even though it's within the conference, do you think Tage Thompson would be one of those players?
He's on my list.
He's on
yeah,
your list.
he's my number 2. So let's talk about Thompson. Tage Thompson is a 40-goal scorer who we know for a fact was devastated to be left off that Team USA roster for the Four Nations. I think part of him is blaming being on Buffalo on that, and I think that there's consternation, I'll say, maybe a little frustration. And he signed long-term to about $9 million, and Buffalo has some big contracts coming up. And they have some big decisions to make. And I couldn't think of a better on-ice fit for Jack Hughes and Tage Thompson. There's no better one. And if I look at that team, obviously last year they traded Peterka, and they brought back Norris. So they tried to make was that the Peterka trade, or was that the other one? No, Peterka was to Utah, right?
I think so.
Who did they? Oh, they traded Cousins. They traded Cousins to Ottawa and brought back Norris. So they did their best to make that a lateral move. Peterka, they just traded away to Utah. I think that I think that Buffalo is just in bad place. I think that they're staring down a last place finish in the Atlantic. I think they're nowhere near the playoffs when I look at that team. And they got talent. That's the problem. They have talent. Something's not clicking there. And honestly, I think Tage Thompson has an outsized voice in that locker room, and I don't think it's good for him. I don't think it's good for the team. I think that he could come to a team like the Devils that has leadership in place, and he could just come and score. He doesn't have to, I think he's somebody who gets very frustrated by losing. He doesn't have to worry about that with New Jersey because other people are worried about the X's and O's. I like the thought of the move. He's big, he's tough, he defends his teammates, he would beat the bricks off of somebody. He's truly he's a slightly better version of Timo Meier. Because that's what I wanted out of Timo Meier. I was like, you already got your Brady Tkachuk in Timo Meier. Tage Thompson can match the impact of Brady Tkachuk 100%. So I love the idea.
Yeah, and with Lindy being up in Buffalo, he knows the talent in New Jersey. He's evaluated.
Nemitz played really well for him.
Yeah.
Right?
So
that would be a piece in that deal.
But, Jack Hughes is right in the middle of his 8-year deal right now.
Yep.
He's been this is going to be, I believe, his 7th season with New Jersey, if I'm not mistaken.
Jax?
Yeah. He played 2019, 2021.
Yep. We're entering his 7th season.
Entering 7th season. You got to get him that winger. You got to get him on both sides. You got to get
7
Jack Hughes
seasons and 1 second round appearance is dirty stuff. That's dirty.
Yeah. So, again, it's now that was your number 2. I'm interested to know your number 1. Who do you have next to Jack?
My number 1 is Jordan Kyrou.
Okay.
My number 1 is Jordan Kyrou. I think St. Louis has a chance at stinking. And Kyrou's name has been out there. He signed long-term as well. I think he has 6 more years, including this one, or maybe after this one. He's somebody who could score. He's not tough like Tage Thompson. I have Cairo number 1 because I think it's more likely he gets traded than Thompson. But I think if Buffalo stinks, I really think they're going to start offloading some pieces. But Cairo had 70 points last year, 36 goals. That's the kind of guy you want next to Jack Hughes. He scored 2 goals in the playoffs in that 5 or 6. Is that 6 games? 5 games. He played 5 games in that series against Winnipeg. Scored 2 goals. Scored 3 goals. Oh, it's okay. It's cut off. Sorry. He in the 7-game series of Winnipeg, he scored 3 goals. I think the kid is really, really good, and he's how old is he?
Late 20s?
27.
Okay.
Doesn't turn 28 until May. So, this is a guy you're paying for just his prime. And you don't have to worry about an extension until after his prime, when the price is going to be different. It's just everything's lining up perfectly. I don't know why he was out in the trade market. Like, his name was out there. His name was out there for a reason. But it was out there. So that's why I have him 1. And then number 3, this is going to start a thing. I'm going to say it anyway. I'm keeping my eye on Dylan Larkin. And Sam, I'm only bringing up like super duper stars. Of course, like smaller trades can happen, like the Cody Glass trade last year, like the Dumoulin trade last year, like the depth trades, or like maybe you try to get a middle 6 guy, or you try to get a guy who could go on a heater. There's going to be a lot of guys like that. But if I'm looking at like you said, a Butch Goring type trade, I look at Dylan Larkin and I'm thinking, man, that guy's got a lot of what the Devils really like. And
it's going to cost you. it's going to cost you.
Yeah, all these trades are going to cost you.
Yeah, and the Devils
all these trades,
the pieces.
What you have to ask yourself is, before you make this trade, you call Vancouver. You say, if we trade for, theoretically, if we trade for Hughes in the offseason, Quinn Hughes in the offseason, what's it going to cost us? Just so you're like, will it take will the trade be off the table if we trade Silyev? Will the trade be off the table if we trade Nemitz? The trade be off the table if we trade Mercer? Whatever. Like, you have all these options. So you kind of have to gauge that because you don't want to mess up your future Quinn Hughes trade options. But, I think and the Devils are uniquely suited to help a team with an NHL defenseman because they have 7 of them. They probably have 8 because I think Seamus Casey's an NHL defenseman. I don't know what his injury is, and I hope it's no more than a month that he's out. But you don't like to hear that he's no close to skating. But the Devils realistically have 8 NHL defensemen. And I think that's going to really have these teams like Detroit and like Buffalo. Well, Buffalo's kind of weird because they have a lot of defensemen. But like Detroit and like St. Louis, who are like, we really need defensive help. What would the Devils need to add to a Larkin trade if it's Larkin for Hamilton? That makes the salaries work out. I think the Devils have to add. It's just like, what? Do they have to add a top prospect? Do they have to add a first-round pick? Do they have to add another roster player? What does that look like that you have to add to Dougie Hamilton to turn into Dylan Larkin? Tage Thompson, I think, would be Buffalo's resetting and looking towards the future kind of thing, or at least like gaining assets to make other moves. So I think that would be like picks and prospects. But yeah, I think the Devils are going to make a move.
Time will tell. It depends what record how they do in the first 15 games. It could happen sooner rather than later. By the way, I got the jersey right now.
Nice.
I just got to send it off to New York to have it stitched Plot 18.
Okay.
And that
See if he's still here by the time we get it back.
With my Marino, it was in the midst of getting stitched, and then he got traded.
Yeah.
Always happens to me.
You got a gift.
Yeah.
Do we have a guest or no? Are we still going?
He's logged on, but I think his camera's off right now, so I don't know what that means. Oh, his camera's back on. He's adjusting right now.
We're good.
He's in the Andy Green room right now.
Love
friend
that.
of the podcast. Yeah. Do you want to?
Why don't you invite him on? If he's ready. I don't want to. This is.
Oh, he's definitely ready. He's one of my favorites, actually. Good friend of the podcast. Robert Aitken Jr., NorthJersey.com. Back on the beat. You can find him on Twitter at Robert Aitken Jr. Hey, Robert.
Guys, how are you? I have a problem, and it's all your fault, Sam. I cannot get the Morning Woo song out of my head, and I have to blame you for this. To the point where I'm engaged, and my fiance she hasn't heard the song yet, but I will probably push it as like our wedding song, and she will veto me extensively for it. But I blame you for that. So.
It was created to be kind of like alarm clock, just to annoy you and wake you up, and then you have to listen to what I have to say. It's a little psychological there.
Works perfectly.
Here's the thing, Robert. We're doing the Let's Go Devils podcast at a wedding this year. If you need our services, just call Sam up. We'll make the trek over to wherever your wedding is. We'll do another Let's Go Devils podcast at the cocktail hour. Keep the people informed and entertained.
Yeah, we're looking a little further down the line, not this year. So we'll definitely be in touch for sure.
Yeah, if you need any help or anything, a little Devils theme, we know what to do.
Now, Robert, wait. As much as I'm sure you want to talk about wedding planning on the Let's Go Devils podcast, let's talk a little Devils hockey. Sure. Now, you've covered pretty much a lot of what's going on in North Jersey, but you've been, a lot of the time you've been on the Devils beat for NorthJersey.com. I don't want to say you went back to the beat, but the focus went back to it once the Devils were in the playoffs last year. So we really appreciate you having you back and writing great articles again, specifically on the Devils. Now, let's start there. I want to start in the playoffs because we haven't talked about it that much because I feel like because of all the injuries, everybody just kind of poo-pooed it. Like a lot of people forgot we were in the playoffs, and then a lot of people just kind of were like, well, we were so injured. What's there to learn? But I want to ask you this. Do you think from what you covered, like, is there something that they learned last season, maybe even Sheldon Keefe, that they learned last season that they can bring to this season?
So first off, you talk about all the different things that I've done, and coming back towards the beat. I do want to thank you guys. I want to thank the people that are watching this as well. It's been, when I tell you, it's a multi-year journey to kind of go back and forth to this. I'm not lying. You guys know this. We've been back and forth since I kind of got involved in the beat. So we're here. I'm here because of you guys, and I do thank you that. As far as that,
and we're so happy to have you.
Thank you. As far as the Carolina series went, you almost felt like through the games, as the series was going on, you felt like you had a young team that was kind of growing game by game. There was obviously the adversity with injuries that were popping up, especially early on in the series. The double overtime game at home with the Nemec game winner, double overtime loss to close out the series was a heartbreaker, but you could literally see the heart from these players. It felt like it was almost medicine that the guys had to take in order to kind of know that feeling that, you can practice as much as you want, but this is playoff hockey. This is what you want to do. This is the amount of effort you have to put forth to win a series. Now let's see what we have to do because we want to win 4 instead of just 1.
Yeah, and that's huge. That's Sam brought up like this is going to be year 7 for Jack Hughes, and I feel like a lot of people would be surprised by that, just that notion. And knowing that Jack Hughes didn't play in the playoffs last year, how important is this season for Jack?
I think it's a pretty darn important thing. I feel like, and I was listening to you guys kind of leading up to this, and even, Sam talking, earlier this week about who was favoring the Devils and all that stuff. Jack Hughes is a star in this league still, but you're seeing a lot of attention kind of being pushed to other people, and Jack Hughes is not that he's not a star, but he's almost kind of being pushed towards the back burner so that people could talk about other ones. And I feel like this is a season for Jack to kind of come back and say, hey, I'm still here. And yes, I can play a full 82-game season. And yes, I'm not this tiny, undersized, fragile player. I'm a superstar.
Yeah. So before you came on, we were talking about kind of like what do you have to add to Jack Hughes to make him a 120-point player? I like the Dadonov pairing, but I do say that it's flawed. I don't want to call it a house of cards, but it's definitely something that like if that's what it looks like in the playoffs, I'm like, okay. Do you think that the Devils have to add a winger to really unlock Jack Hughes, or do you think because Sidney Crosby had Chris Kunitz on his line for most of his career? Do you think Jack Hughes could be like a 120-point player as currently constructed with the roster the way it is?
I think Jack Hughes is a great player no matter who you have with him. I think it's important to find the right piece that makes that player better by being with Jack Hughes. You saw when Jack got hurt, people were worried about the power play, and the power play, at least before the playoff started, was outstanding without Jack Hughes, which boggles the mind because you would think you'd need Jack Hughes in order to make that happen. That was without Jack Hughes and a lot of time without Dougie Hamilton, which would be a big part of a power play as well. So it's not so much who do you need with Hughes, it's who needs Hughes, who can be that complementary player. For a while, people wanted to pair him with Jesper Bratt. I think Jesper Bratt's proven Jesper Bratt could play with probably me and you and have a 100-point season.
Yeah. Listen, if you want to give me 20 goals in the NHL, I'll take the $6 million contract they're giving to 20-goal players right now. So sure. I'll be fine. No, I agree with you, though. I think Jesper Bratt a couple years ago uniquely proved that he's kind of a chameleon about like he will adjust to what the team needs of him. So I think pairing it with Jack is interesting, right? It almost looked like you were wasting the assets because they both can do that, right? They both elevate their lines, but they've done such a good job of like they made Andre Palat relevant last year, and Palat a lot of the time almost, I don't want to say looked like an anchor, but his role became like merchant, right? Your role was to find takeaways sometimes and turn them into big chances for us. But so often, and you even saw this with on that shorthanded chance. I can't remember which preseason game it was, but where Jack Hughes and Jesper Bratt were all alone and they just played pass, tic-tac-toe with each other. They can do that so easily that it works so well. And they have the instincts to know when to shoot up the ice with each other to cause a 2-on-1 or a 2-on-0. So I agree with you. I think that, you're going to find a good fit there. It looks like it's Dadonov right now. I think it'll be fine if it's Mercer or even if it's like a Paul Cotter or a Connor Brown or somebody like that. I think you're really in good shape. Let me ask you this: just there was a lot of national attention on Jesper Bratt this offseason. Were you surprised by that? That it seems like that the world has finally caught up to the recognition for Bratt?
I feel like it should have happened a long time ago. I feel like a lot of Devils fans will tell you that as much. I'm glad that Jesper Bratt is getting his due. Finally, he's a fantastic player. He's a fantastic person. He deserves all the accolades and then some. I mean, there's not much more that he could truly have done for this team than what he did. It's great when and you like to think that you can create stars like that, but that the NHL only cares about the Connor Bedards or the Ovechkins, that kind of people. But when you get people like Jesper Bratt, who's grinded, who was a late round draft pick, finding his spot, finding his voice, finding his game, he did exactly that, and it's well deserved and probably long overdue.
So I'm going to pivot a little bit because NorthJersey.com just put out a super interesting, I want to say a little controversial article out there about the quarter century team. You picked the quarter century team for the New Jersey Devils. Now, I'm not going to spoil the whole thing. You're going to have to subscribe to NorthJersey.com to see the whole thing because the explanations are there. It's a really good article. It's all there. I do want you to explain yourself on two things.
Sure.
The first thing is you have Jack Hughes on the fourth line with Heischer and Bratt ahead of him on different lines. Give me a thought process there.
Sure. The thought process there was, so first of all, when you do these quarter century teams, and a lot of people put them out, the early part of 2025, they basically made a starting lineup and they just picked anyone who played from 2000 on. So I wasn't doing any of that. You had to play at least 5 seasons. I feel like you had to play, 20% of the quarter century with the team in order to be considered. So, spoiler alert, there's no Scott Stevens on there because he retired in 2004. Because that would be easy to just throw him on there, but he was only there for 4 years out of 25. I tried to keep people in their positions, and because of that, and there obviously are some well-deserved centers that are ahead of Jack for that reason. I guess in my theory, it was just trying to make the pairings, and if you read the entire thing, you'll understand what I mean by that. Trying to pair the lines complementary that way. Jack, I feel like would thrive, and it would be different, but almost like a couple of years ago where you had like Bastion and Miles Wood on the fourth line to kind of bring energy and stuff like that. If you can have someone with the skill set of Jack Hughes on a fourth line, I mean, who are you paired up against? That would be a fourth line. And they'd be like,
listen, I mean,
why am I? What did I do that was so wrong that I have to get paired up with this guy right now?
They're kind of doing it this year with Gritsik, right? With Arsenij Gritsik,
Sure.
Putting Gritsik on the fourth line, that kind of skill and that kind, like he looks very good. So it's kind of like what they're doing this year, right?
Yeah, honestly, part of that is the fact that but part of the reason that Jack is on the fourth line is because he hasn't played as much as the 3 centers in front of him. And, there's obviously still time to grow. If I made an all-decade team, he's obviously not on the fourth line. He's much higher than that. He's probably your number 2 behind Nico.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that. I can't remember. The same way, I think it was 2 years ago, we did our top 50 Devils of all time, like 50 players. So I couldn't make those restrictions of 5 years just because there was too many impactful players. But I didn't have Jack Hughes on the list, and people said I was insane. This was right before the 2022-23 season, so that's 3 years ago. Obviously, I think he's definitely a top 50 Devils player now, but I get it. I get where you're going with it. The no Scots, because I don't think Niedermayer's on the list either. It makes sense with the criteria that you're putting out there. So you don't count 99, 2000. You're going 2000, 2001 on.
So I actually, I counted 5 full seasons within the 2000s. But if you look at any specific stats in there, I actually counted the 2000 part of the 99-2000 season. So like
Okay.
there are people who were like on the all rookie team in 99-2000. I counted that as an accolade.
Got it. Okay. Which would, I think it's obvious the guy you're talking about there, but what was the hardest omission? Like who or give me the two or three that you were like, man, it's hard to make this list without them, but there's nowhere to put them.
There were a couple of people that I initially had on and I switched off. I feel like this is the right opportunity to kind of give love to those mid 2000s, like 2005 to 2010 kind of players, the John Maddens of the world who never get accolades on lists like this. Just trying to think, like a Brian Ralston or a Jay Pandolfo, like those kind of guys. They never get involved in situations like this, but that was the core of when they were important Devils. That's a group of good Devils, maybe not great Devils, not people that you'll see on the rafters or maybe even in the Ring of Honor, but they were significant, impactful Devils while they were there. The other one, honestly, that was kind of hard to do was it made sense to pick my backup goalie. I think it's pretty obvious who the starting goalie is, but trying to pick a backup goalie can be a little bit difficult sometimes. Mackenzie Blackwood at times was that guy. So was Corey Schneider. You could make a case for some of these other guys. So, again, pretty obvious who the number one goalie is in the Devils for the last 25 years. As far as the number two, you can have that debate.
Yeah. And there's definitely debate. I think it makes it easier or makes it hard. Like your criteria almost makes it harder because it's hard to find a guy who was there for 5 years, right? Because it was a rotating, even like the backups. Like Kevin Weeks was here for a couple of years. Johan Hedberg was here for a couple of years, and he was really good. It's I'm trying to think of a couple other guys, but I think Terreri didn't play here in the 2000s. I think when he came back, I think it was in the 90s. But, there's a couple guys, Wedgwood was here a couple years and he played backup. There's a guy whose name's escaping me.
Kincaid, maybe.
Clemenson was a guy who had a really good run, but again, I don't think he played 5 years for the Devils. He might have, but I don't think he did. So I think backup goalie is it's always an interesting argument, right? It's kind of the redheaded. It's like it's similar to how we look at a backup quarterback, right? It's like I don't care about you until I have to care about you, and for so long the Devils never had to care about the backup goalie. Like he played 12 to 15 games a year. I remember the first Devils game I ever went to as a child. I was like, I'll finally get to see Brodeur. And I happened to go to the one game that Mike Dunham was in net. So it's like it was almost like a big disappointment when Brodeur. It was like, it's like, did I go to the wrong game? Are we in Albany right now? What's going on?
It's like going to Broadway and you want to hear like the big singer on the Broadway stage and you get the understudy and you're like, why did I buy tickets today of all days?
Right, my tickets cost the same price. Why is this happening? So I that makes sense. Now, we're gonna tweet the article from Robert from the Pucks and Pitchforks account and from the Let's Go Devils podcast account, so you can easily find it. But before I let you go, Robert, I do want a prediction for the season. Do you have a bold prediction for the season, whether it's a standings prediction or a player prediction or a what's something that like you want to? I want to stamp my name to this because if it happens, I want to get the credit.
So I heard you guys right before I got on. You were talking about people that you might want to trade for, to kind of bolster this team, and because this is going to be, especially with the Olympics involved and everything, this is going to be a marathon. It's not going to be a sprint. You're going to need, bodies to take up time. So I found myself kind of looking at like pending free agents and like maybe some people that you get as a rental. You're not spending a whole lot of money, but you get a veteran presence to kind of, boost the team, for a run. Couple names came to mind for me. Um, Jeff Skinner in San Jose, the 1-year
Oh, that's
deal. I mean, he's played in Edmonton, he's played in Buffalo, he's played in Carolina, so he knows what playoff hockey is. He's 33. He's a former first round pick. What would San Jose really need from him? So maybe they flip him, grab some more prospects, keep building that way. Another name that some people around here know about, and I know he's hurt right now, Matt Zuccarello's 38, and when he gets himself healthy, does Minnesota really need him for a push, or do they look at him as maybe, we'll swap him for something else? Maybe you're looking for it's a veteran for a veteran thing, but just I'm thinking about people like that because people are going to get hurt during the season. People are probably going to get hurt leading up to the Olympics. They're probably going to be sore during the Olympics, and if you have a guy like Zuccarello who is not really skating right now and is going to be away for a few weeks, he'll have a little bit less miles on his skates for this season, and maybe he kind of thrives in the right situation at the end of the season.
Well, there you have it. If I see a Matt Zuccarello trade, everybody better go to Robert Aitken and tag him on the Twitter sphere. Say, you got it, man. You got it right. Yeah, and Skinner's a smart play. I think Skinner is somebody that is worthwhile as a rental, like where you don't have to. I do feel like that Fitzgerald hasn't gone the rental route, and there's value to it if you do it right. So, Robert, it's so good to have you back. I really look forward to seeing some of your in-depth writing this year. We plugged your quarter century lineup. What else do you have to plug for of your Devils coverage this year?
Nothing specific right now, but keep calling, keep emailing, and saying that you want, pounding the pavement, saying that you want Devils coverage. We're hearing it. We know about it. It's a topic of conversation at the newsroom, so it's not going to deaf ears. Believe me.
We love that. We love actually being heard. So we'll definitely put all that out. Make sure everybody goes and subscribes and reads that top 25 the quarter century piece, and I think that'll go a long way. You see those added subscribers coming from that one article. I think it'll go a long way. You'll get more coverage of Devils hockey from Robert Aitken Jr. Robert, really appreciate having you on, friend of the podcast, and we will have you on again soon.
Guys, thank you.
Thank you, Robert. That's Robert Aitken of NorthJersey.com. Big fan of the Morning Woo.
Hey, listen, we're performing at one wedding where the wedding song at another. I mean, that's all you. I can't take any credit for that. Well, I'm taking a little bit of credit just because of my tie to the other one. I feel like that.
Oh yeah,
I did a lot there. This one's all you, man.
Well, and also I would like to add that there's a lot of Devils podcasts now. Now there's like other live streams all over the place, but I think we've cornered the early morning market now. I think we've got a monopoly. So. We had to evolve. We had to adjust to the competition, the climate, so to speak.
Can I speak to what you're referencing? Because it was teased. Sure. It was teased for the first time on this podcast. We have that going for us.
Absolutely.
So last week we had Ryan Novozinski on the podcast. He teased something big coming out. He couldn't say more. I was like, come on, you got to give me something. He couldn't give me anything. Well, we can tell you for sure they're doing a YouTube series. He's going to have interviews. He's going to have special I think he used the C word, Sam. I won't use the C word, but he'll have special videos and breakdowns and post-game, and I think that he's going to have a lot of really fun stuff. And here's the thing, Sam. I love this. I love that Devils coverage is back. We talked about this earlier this summer, that I was like, I don't like the state of the beat. And and I say this a lot, and people think it's like it's a knock on the people on the beat. We have great people covering the Devils, but it's a lot of the times they're doing so much heavy lifting while the Rangers are getting money put behind it, and they're getting assets put behind it, and they're getting, people and places and things behind it. They're putting nouns behind the Rangers, Sam. The Canucks are getting nouns. The Maple Leafs are getting nouns. Where are our nouns? And, I see what's going on, and I'm starting to see more people say there's money here in New Jersey. A lot of people didn't. I think James told us this on the podcast, and if I'm breaking a conversation out with James off air, I'm going to apologize to him in person, but I think he told us this on the podcast. He fought to cover the Devils, and he said, it makes sense to have a beat reporter on the Devils. And I do think it makes sense. And I know a lot of people are...
Which person said this?
James Nichols.
Oh, okay.
Hockey Now.
I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And he fought to cover the Devils. He was an Islanders guy for the longest time. And, now he's like the head guy on the beat. He's doing a lot of really good work. And, now you got Christy and the Hockey News doing a lot of really good work and a lot of really cool interviews. And you got Ryan doing this video series. And like, that's going to get more for us to talk about. And a lot of that inside knowledge that Vancouver and Toronto and New York and Chicago and Philadelphia seems to get. I think that the beat isn't as good of a place as it's been since we had Corey covering at The Athletic, since we had, it was right after Galiti and Scherer left at the same time.
Yep.
And, we still had people who were really into this beat. And the problem was the team stunk. You're not going to get a lot of interest in a team that stinks.
Yeah.
And now that it's kind of clear that this is an interesting team, people are paying attention again. I really like the state of the beat.
I also want to add, not to pat ourselves on the back, we got to 1 million downloads because of our fans, and one of the reasons why is because we never left the beat. Since 2017 till now, it's. I mean, we've had our ups and downs. We had the pandemic. We had 10 months of no Devils hockey.
But that wasn't a down for us. We did a show every week during the pandemic.
Which was crazy.
Every Wednesday we were on the air.
Yeah, it was like...
And we've honestly had our most issues in the last 2 years with, there's been some health issues and there's been some hospital stays and, those things have gotten the most in our way. If we are physically able, we do the podcast. It's kind of how it goes.
Yeah.
And I think that consistency and that commitment is how we got to 1 million. And honestly, Sam, like one of our biggest detriments is, they keep changing the game on us. The SEO changes, or Facebook changes their algorithm, or Twitter changes their algorithm, or YouTube changes their algorithm. So we have to go out and find the viewers again, or the viewers can't find us, and we have to figure out what's going on. Like that's what's been the biggest detriment. But that's why you see the downloads have been so consistent for the most part, because the people subscribe to us and they get their morning woo, they get their State of the Fan address, they get their their Sunday flagship show.
They see us at the bar.
Right. Devils
outside
After
of the
Dark,
bar, on the road.
Right. Yeah. American whiskey. It's the New Jersey Devils are, and honestly, like the Devils have the Devils at one point, I think there was a I don't want to say adversarial relationship with the media, but I think that they appreciate where it is now. I think they're very happy where it is now. I will say that. So, and I love it. Like, this is great. We got a couple minutes before we have Daniel on. I think he's logged in, but I think he's camera's not on yet, right?
No, it's not on yet.
Are you confirming or are you asking?
No, it's not on yet. He is logged in the Andy Green room, but we're just waiting.
He's enjoying some sparkling water. He's enjoying some of the champagne flutes that we've put out for everybody.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, our interns are getting him some cookies as well.
Yeah, maybe a little makeup, sit in the makeup chair. Get pretty for your. Maybe we should do a late night show, similar like Fallon and Kimmel. Maybe we'll fill that void. I heard CBS is looking for something. Anyway, before we have him on, Sam, I kind of want to talk to you about. I want to get into the defense because I mentioned this earlier, and I didn't get your thoughts specifically. But yeah, the Athletic ranked the Devils' defense 15th, basically a middle of the pack defense. If that's where the Devils' defense actually is, which I think they've mislabeled this defense ridiculously. I think the Devils have an easily top 10, probably top 7 defense in the league. First, let me ask you: do you agree with that?
I don't
Based
agree
on
with
the units
it.
in the system.
I don't know where they got that assessment. Are they thinking that Siegenthaler is going to regress from having a great season last season? Do they think that Luke Hughes and his shoulder may not hold up? Or Dougie Hamilton is going to regress because of age? I
think injuries are part of it, based on the write-up. But it was weird because for other teams, they're like, you got to wonder about injuries, but for now, this is what it looks like on paper. And it seems like the injuries didn't affect the rankings for other teams, but it did affect the Devils because they brought up Hamilton's injury specifically and the worry there. Here's the thing. I got into a conversation with friend of the podcast, CJ Turturro, on this yesterday because I just think it's wrong. Having the Rangers defense ahead of the Devils is insane. I like Adam Fox. I know he had a bad for Adam Fox season last year. I think Gavrikov is a good signing when you don't look at the contract. Like, he's a good player. I think the Devils' second and third line is so much better than the Rangers' second and third line. And I think the Rangers' first line is relatively better than the Devils' first line. So when I say first line, I consider Luke Hughes and Brett Pesce the first line for the Devils. I think that's going to be the first line moving forward. I think that's how they're going to attack this season. Is Luke Hughes 25 minutes a night. He's your guy. He's your workhorse. You kind of ease Dougie Hamilton into a new lease on life, 18 to 19 minutes, and then you ask Nemitz and Dylan to fill the other 14 or whatever it is. The upside for the Devils is top 5. If everything goes right for the Devils, they have a top 5 defense. I don't think they can catch Colorado. I don't think they can catch Florida. I'm trying to think of who's I think Carolina is going to have a better defense than them. But those are the 3 that are sticking out to me that are you can't catch them. They're just too good. I think they could catch Vancouver.
Now, does this include taking into consideration the goalies? Or is this purely Defense.
Just the defense. Just
Purely
the defense. Do you think the goalies would help or hurt? Because Shesterkin obviously like raises you a level, but I think Shesterkin is like erasing so many mistakes from this defense.
Well, it depends because last year Markstrom and Allen played very well as a tandem. Can they repeat
Except for that one stretch from Markstrom, because that one stretch ruined his numbers. But overall,
that was after he came back from injury, right?
Yeah, that was the injury.
Yeah. Yeah, I always thought that he came back a little too early, but it's playoff time. You got to come back at some point,
right?
But I think middle of the pack. I wouldn't say that's insulting, but what I would say is I believe the Devils are top 10. And again, who knows what goes into these rankings, what they're thinking, but the Devils have depth. I know Kovacevic is out, but they have depth back there. If injuries were to occur, but again, it's not. I'm not going to say that they're top 3, but 10 sounds better than 15.
Yeah.
Here's
the thing, Sam. You talk about the depth. Like we haven't talked about Kalen Addison, who has a full NHL season under his belt. He's in the AHL. I liked some things I've seen from Tobias Villano. There's another guy that you could call up from the AHL. Cholowski, I'm not a fan of. I don't.
He's like the Ken Sutton. He's like the Ken Sutton of years ago. If you remember Ken Sutton.
I don't remember Ken Sutton. What year is that?
He was acquired like 3 or 4 times by Lou, and he just ate some time when they needed him years ago. But anyway,
his name's just not ringing a bell. Are you talking about like early 90s?
I'm talking about late 90s, early 2000.
Yeah. It's kind of ringing a bell, but anyway. Are we good?
That's the signal, Nick.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can do intros. Do you want to do this intro or do you want me to do it?
I'll do this intro. Because we had a great time. The last time I saw this guest was on the big stage when it was absolute mayhem. I believe it was Game 4 of last season. Yep. Out on the big stage. It was our only interview because it just got out of control, and then we just started playing music. His name is Daniel Amoia from the Hockey Writers. You can find him on Twitter at Daniel_Amoia. Daniel, how are you tonight?
Hey, can you guys hear me? Want to make sure everything's good.
We can, but I don't think your microphone's hooked up. I think it's hooked up to your
let's see.
Into your computer. All right, I guess we lost.
How about now? Is that better?
Nah, it's the same.
I can hear you though. It's fine.
We can hear you. I mean, if you go to the gearbox and then you select your sound card. Yeah.
I'm gonna try it one more time. Let's see.
All right.
Okay. We'll let them try it one more time. While we're doing this.
This is what happens when we're live.
Yeah. The live studios of the State of the Fan address. This is, and honestly, there's going to be parts of the State of the Fan where we're a little down, we're a little disconnected, and that's okay.
All right. If I speak up, you guys could at least hear me enough. Hopefully,
I got you. I got you.
We got you.
Okay, sounds good. How you guys doing?
It looks great. It looks like you're talking to a microphone, so we're all good.
It's all that matters, right?
Yeah, it's the illusion of being on top of it all. But yeah, so Daniel, we brought you on. I was really excited to bring you on. In the normal virtual way instead of it's very rare that we have somebody start in person and come virtually. So appreciate having you on. Now, let me ask you this first. Last year, correct me if I'm wrong. Last year, the first year you were on the beat, correct?
First full season, yes.
Okay. What was like the main memory that you had as the first year as a beat writer?
There were so many. I'm probably just gonna have to go with the Mrs. Fields thing. I feel like that's what
Yeah.
really kind of, I guess you could say, put my name out there, and
Sure.
really like, I don't know how to explain it, but it was just like something like you can't even really describe it. It was just such a weird thing, but it was so cool, and just seeing how like the fan base took to it. And I don't want to take complete credit for it because like obviously the Devils were the one who did it, and James Nichols kind of got it going, and then I just like went way overboard with it. But yeah, it was really fun. I think that was the coolest thing. And then I'll throw an honorable mention to the playoff game, Game 3 as well. Just
Yeah.
obviously I've never experienced anything like that as press. I had only done regular season home games to that point, so it was definitely just a different experience, completely different from covering a regular season game, and I thought that was really cool as well.
Listen, it's covering the playoffs games is a different animal for sure. But I want to talk about the Mrs. Fields thing just real quick because we didn't get to it a lot during the playoff game because we had a lot to talk about. Two quick questions. A, do you think the Devils knew what they were doing? Like, do you think that
In
people
what
get that behind it?
I do. I think, I mean, behind any good tool like that, even if you look at Grimace with the Mets, I'm a big Mets fan. Like, there's a marketing team that has a pretty good idea, and I think once they saw how the fan base started latching onto it, they kind of latched onto it as well. And I do think they knew what they were doing. The Devils got some smart people in their marketing department, and yeah, they really took it to the next level because I could say what I want on Twitter, but if Mrs. Fields all of a sudden won 4 races in a row in say like December, it's not as fun anymore. So
Sure.
that made it so much better.
And what was the feeling like when you heard the sound of the crowd? That was probably the biggest ovation of the season. Was when Mrs.
I
Fields
mean,
won the cookie race or the dessert
the
race.
only crowd pop that even rivaled that was Nemitz's playoff winner in
Yeah.
double overtime. Like, so it's kind of crazy that all that for a virtual cookie. But yeah, I mean, people are going nuts. And then we had the Mr. Fields guy who dressed up in the cookie costume, and they wouldn't stop talking about him on the broadcast. I interviewed him after that. Just the whole thing. Even Sheldon Keefe dropping the quotes after the game, like Mrs. Fields carried us through tonight. Like, just who would have thought from the beginning that something like that would even happen from a virtual cookie? So it was just like such a surreal, weird thing, but it was very cool to be a part of.
Now I gotta talk. As much as we want to talk about Mrs. Fields for the rest of the night, I gotta talk about the play on the ice. I'm gonna ask a very straightforward question to start. Is this team better than the one last year?
Better than the one last year, certainly. I think it's very similar, but obviously depth scoring was their big issue, and they made a. You could make arguments that there may still be work to do, but they did plug some of those holes. I mean, you look at three guys, Brown, Gritsuk, and Dadanov, all have the capability to be. I think I could say for certain will be better than some of those guys they were replacing. How much better remains to be seen, but I think certainly better. So that's I would say certainly.
Yeah, I mean, and there were some. I know people hate to talk about luck in this, but like there was some bad luck with Tatar. There was some bad luck with. I mean, Halla and Lazar got injured. It looked like different people completely. So there was some strings of bad luck there, but I think you're kind of making your own luck a little bit with like Connor Brown is a really good signing. Is he overpaid? Maybe a little, but like whatever. Like you kind of do those things when you want to compete. And it's not overpaid like a lot, where it's like 6 million versus 4 million. There's a detrimental difference there. So I agree with you. I think this team is better. I think this team is deeper. I think they did a really good job of getting Utica better. With Thomas Bordeleau, with Angus Crookshank, with a couple other guys that they acquired that are in the AHL right now. That Haminaho and LaChance are two guys that are going to really impact that roster. So I think that they do have the depth, like you said. Now let's talk about the top end. Are you satisfied with the top 6 right now, or do you think that more moves need to be made?
I think it would be hard to be completely satisfied with it, but at the same time, you look at the contracts they've dished out, I mean, and a lot of them team friendly as well. You don't see many teams in the league because you look at Heischer, Hughes, Bratt, Meyer. I mean, those are 4 guys paid a lot. I can't recall any teams who were giving that kind of money to a 5th guy. And then even if a team did, what does the bottom half of their lineup look like? I think if the depth scoring was in place last season, it wouldn't be as much of a conversation now. And if there was a capless world, ideally, sure, you'd like to have that Tyler Toffoli type there. And maybe if you could get a replay of things, maybe there was more of like a Tyler Toffoli clone who you'd prioritize over someone like Timo Meyer. But at the end of the day, I think if the depth scoring is present, it's not an issue whatsoever. And I'm someone who's high on Meyer myself. I know a lot of people aren't, but I really don't think it is going to be an issue if the depth scoring is present. Because how many times last season were those top guys just completely relied on it? If they do nothing, the Devils don't score. They get shut out. I don't think that's going to be the case this year.
Yeah, the offense was not. The offense was great to start the season. That's how Nason got to 20 goals and Cotter got. I can't remember what Cotter ended up with, but he had a career high in goals, and you were getting depth scoring early, and then it dried up in the second half of the year. And I want to actually let me ask this, because I think this goes a long way in helping the Devils achieve their goals. Why are you high on Meyer this year?
I mean, first of all, if you just take one look at him, that's why I'm high on Timo Meyer. I mean, he is just a bull. He's so hard to play against, and you've seen flashes of it. And I don't know why it always happens in March, but we know the talent is there because we see it every March, the last 2 Marches at least.
Yeah.
So maybe it's being naive a little bit, but I just think he's way too talented to start a season as slow from October through February as he has the past couple seasons. And you do look at a lot of quote-unquote advanced numbers. Now, he's going to always be someone who the advanced numbers favor because he's always throwing pucks at the net from everywhere. But he creates a lot of those chances and just seems not to be able to finish them. I mean, around late February, mid-February last year, there were some chances where it's like I don't care who you are, with these chances, how are they not going? No, it was almost getting surreal to a point. So the expectations are a little unfair to an extent because he is always going to be viewed to the pedestal of his 40-goal season. And if he's not on power play 1 and on with guys like Heischer, Hughes, Bratt, Timo Meyer is not going to score 40 goals ever again, at least as a Devil. And there's nothing wrong with that. People just need to be able to accept that, in my opinion. I think if he could still pot 30, 35 and just be a consistent presence, not just show up in March, be what he was in March and the playoffs the whole season, it's a completely different narrative with him. So there's just too much there that leads me to believe. And look, I know that you could debate forever about whether he should be on power play 1, whether he should play on the left side or right side, but the bottom line is Timo Meyer has the talent regardless to be a very good complementary player, and like I said, we've seen it in flashes. So I just can't see a world where he starts off that slow again. I can't see it. He's too talented.
So, where does he have to hit goals-wise for you to consider it a successful season for Timo Meyer?
I mean, that really depends on whether he's playing on the first or second power play, though I do have to say the second power play this year looks pretty good
Much
with
better.
Dadanov and Gritsuk in the fold. I mean, they were already second in the
And
league
Hamilton's
last year.
there full time.
Yeah,
If
that's
they
right.
stay healthy.
I would not be surprised if this team finishes first in the league because they were second last year and only got better. So, I think, and personally, I think Meyer should be on the second power play just because the numbers show that him and Jack Hughes don't work together. I don't know why that is. They've tried it. It just does not go well. I asked Sheldon Keefe about it in his exit interview, and he basically said, like, yeah, that's something as a coaching staff we need to be able to try to figure out, but the results just haven't worked. I think it's just because they're two of kind of the same, like, shoot first, want to run things kind of guy, and they just don't mesh for that reason. But I would say, assuming he's not on power play one, because that's what it seems like, I would think between 30 and 35 goals. If you could get 33 goals out of Timo Meyer and not back heavy, if he's scoring consistently throughout the season, those 32, 33 goals, I think there's no reason to complain with the other offensive talent they have, and that's assuming everyone's relatively healthy.
And he brings a physical game. Like, people have been begging for people to, like, stick up for each other and hit each other. Like, Meyer's been doing this whole time. I always say, like, we forget now how offensively unlucky Meyer was in that Ranger series because he made such an impact getting in Shesterkin's head and being a physical presence that he helped them win the series. So we don't care that he didn't. I don't think he had any points, or maybe he had 1 point in that whole series. It doesn't matter now because we know he's a big reason why he won, and he's a big reason why they win games moving forward. So I'm a little worried about the offensive numbers, but the overall impact, I'm with you 100%. I think he's a very important part of this team. Now, the first line right now, you talked about that fit with Jack Hughes. You know, we had Robert Aitken from NorthJersey.com on right before you. And we were talking about the Jack Hughes. Like, how important is this season for Jack Hughes? It's year 7. He missed the playoffs last year. I think the injury thing, like, you can't deny that. That's important. You have to stay healthy and show that you're not an injury-prone player. But as far as the impact, I'm trying to say, like, does he have to have a 100-point season for me to be like, he had a successful Jack Hughes season? Or can he, or is it more nuanced than that? So I'm going to kind of, after all that, I'm going to take a little bit different approach. And I just want to ask, do you think that first line sticks together? Do you think Jesper Bratt, Jack Hughes, Evgeny Dadanov is going to be the first line come playoff time? Barring injury, of course, but do you think that that's going to stick?
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you said barring injury because it's unfortunately kind of seemed inevitable the last few years. But I don't know. It's really hard to say because you look at guys like Dadanov, Brown, Palat, Mercer. They're all kind of guys who can play anywhere, really. So, and you don't even know, for all we know, Gritsuk could be a guy that moves up there down the road. I mean, that's obviously very wishful thinking. But there's too many pieces. I mean, I just basically named 5 guys who can pop in that spot, be in that spot. So for me to confidently say there's one single person that will remain in that spot the whole season, I'm going to say probably not. Now, if that is the case, that probably means Dadanov has been a perfect fit, and I surely think he can be. But there's just too much interchangeable. Stefan Nason obviously will be in the mix as well. There's really 6 guys on the team who aren't like locks to be in the top 6 the whole season, but certainly can be if you need them to. So, and I think that could be a good thing and a bad thing depending on how you normally take an outlook on these type of things. But I can't confidently say that will be the case. But Dadanov definitely has the ability to be that top guy, because if they're healthy, you know what you're getting out of Bratt, you know what you're getting out of Jack, and obviously a big if, but you know what you're getting out of those two. But I do think there's going to be, even if everyone's healthy, there's going to be some shuffling throughout the season. You saw Dadanov in Dallas he played with, was it Hinson Robertson, I think? And he played probably about a third of their games there, and he was on the second line, he was on the third line, he was on the fourth line. He was pretty effective no matter where he played. But there's just too much interchangeable where I could certainly see the first time they lose 2-3 games in a row. Keefe's going to mix things up, and there will be other guys who get that opportunity up there.
Let me ask you, you mentioned Gritsik and all that. What are your expectations for Gritsik? We've talked about him a remarkably small amount for a preview show. We've just been talking. We've had a lot. There's a lot going on with this team, truly.
Yep.
What is your assessment of Gritsik from the preseason, and how do you think that's going to translate? Like, what are your expectations from this season?
I mean, you just can't leave them too high. I mean, for all intents and purposes, he wasn't even a point per game in the KHL. Not that that's easy to do, but
yeah,
I think we're expecting him to be like this 80-point guy just because all the hype, and obviously that's not going to be the case. If you get 40 out of Gritsuk this year, I think you're happy. That's just reliable depth scoring that they sorely missed last season. He had better numbers than someone like Sharangovich, who came over when he played, blanking on the team name in the KHL, but even if he just copies Sharangovich's first year production, I think you'd be pretty happy with that, but I think he has an equal, if not greater, shot than Sharon.
Points? It was like
yeah, it was around there, but it was the shortened season as well. So,
right.
yeah, so it was all weird back then. But I think, I think if you get 40 out of Gritsuk, if he could match Sharangovich's point per game production or a little higher, you're super happy with that. And I mean, the biggest step be how he fares on the power play. If he's someone who could maybe notch 7, 8, 9 power play goals playing on the second power play unit, I mean, that completely changes the dynamic. Not that the Devils' power play was bad to begin with, but I mean, that's some serious firepower you have right there. So, there's just been
You're no longer trying to survive the first power play. There's reinforcements coming. They're just they're good.
There's no holes in his game to me, really. The only gripe Sheldon Keefe had was that he turned over the puck a little too much for his liking. I want to add 2 little caveats to that. First of all, I'm losing my train of thought, so on the first, I'll give you the second. I saw Keefe say that. I went to check some numbers. Here are the names of 3 players who turned over the puck more than Gritsuk this preseason. Connor McDavid, Nikita Kucherov, Jake Gensel. So that's the biggest gripe out of the entire preseason. I think he's doing all right. And number 2, of course, I'm blanking. Oh, yes. I feel like you'd rather him turn pucks over like that in preseason than be timid and scared to make a mistake. Sure. It's a pretty big adjustment going from the KHL ice to the NHL ice, and really the first period he played of the very first preseason game against the Rangers, you could tell that nervousness was there. He had some conversations on the bench with Paul Cotter, and ever since then, I mean, he didn't look out of place from guys like Jesper Bratt, Jack Hughes, etc. I'm not saying he's going to be that good this season, but he looked every part of an NHLer. So I don't see a world where Gritsuk, if he's healthy, isn't putting up 40.
40 points?
Yes, 40 points. Okay. And I mean,
I heard somebody say 40 goals on Twitter. And I was like,
that's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's insane. All right, let me ask you this, and I know we're up against it, so I'm going to make this quick because I do want to kind of get a bold prediction out of you. But so you cover the playoffs, you saw them pretty close. Do you think there's anything to learn from that experience, or do you chalk it up as our power play failed and our team was too injured?
I'll say a little bit of both. If you look at some of the younger guys like Cody Glass, Paul Cotter, they had a rough time in that series. So I do think there was some to learn. Maybe it's more on an individual basis than a team basis. But yeah, the injuries just decimated them. And even with that, I mean, you could argue they outplayed Carolina at even strength in that series, which even if they were fully healthy, that's a tough thing to do. The special teams just murdered them. And I know if they were fully healthy, that would not have been the case. So I really do think that that was more of the issue. And again, that depth scoring as well. That they got a little more of it, but Palat was actually very great in that series.
Yeah. Playoff Palat
but
is
yeah.
a thing.
It's a real thing. I will still never wrap my head around it, but I mean, the Devils will take it. Better playoff Palat than no time Palat. So
Yeah, sure. All right. So final thing before we let you go, I don't want you to give a. I know you're writing your own article, so I'll let you showcase where you have the Devils finishing on thehockeywriters.com. But I do want to know, like, can you give us a bold prediction? It could be standings related, it could be player related. Like, what's a bold prediction that you could share with us? Make it bold.
It has to be bold.
The one, and just to give you an example, the one I shared earlier is
okay. Go ahead.
the one I shared earlier is I think Luke Hughes is breaking 60 points this year. I think we're gonna get Luke Hughes dominant. Question whether he's the best Hughes brother, Luke Hughes, this year. So that's where I'm going. I want to know where you're going.
I don't know if this constitutes as bold enough, but I think Jack Hughes will play all 82 games this season.
That's bold. That's very bold.
I feel like it has to be bold at this point, and all 82. He will not miss a single game.
That's huge. And you got to remember that him playing all 82 means he's playing another 10 for the Olympics, right? Is it 10? I think it's 10.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, that's true.
8 or 10. So, it's 90 games right there. Plus, if the Devils make the playoffs, it's another 16 wins, right? So, it's that's a bold prediction. I think. Listen, I think that Jack Hughes. We talked about it. I think he has to prove something. I don't think, and to that point, I don't think he's going to sit out if he doesn't have to. I think he wants to prove something this year. I think there's a fire in him. Not that there ever isn't, but there's a different level of, like, he has fallen under the radar. He's not the top of the he's not on the cover of the NHL game anymore. He's not that guy anymore. So I think there's reason for him to come out and say, I have to dominate this year. So love that bold prediction, Daniel. Take a second to plug what you got going on at the Hockey Writers. What's a story that's coming out this week?
Well, that really all determines on how the first week goes. It could be very different, but I'm very excited, actually. I've been given a full season credential for the first time, even though I covered most of the games last year. I was not on a full season basis, so now I do have a full season credential. Also graduated last year, so now I'm able to do, thank you, from Montclair State University. So now I'm able to do a lot more in terms of features and stuff like that. I did one on Glendenning and Dadanov already this camp. I'll be able to head to a lot more practices and fully cover the team, whereas last year I was still in school, so completely different situation. So that alone, I'm really excited. You can get all my pieces. Just Google my name, Daniel Amoia, at thehockeywriters.com. It'll come up. And yeah, just really, really excited. Obviously, this is a great time to cover the team because there's a lot of promise there, and I do think this is the year that they're gonna show it. Fans are rightfully fed up having one playoff series after this core, really in the entire existence of this core. But I just find it too hard to believe that it's gonna stay that way.
Daniel, here's something to add to that, and feel free to use this in your work. Do you know the last time the Devils went to the playoffs in back-to-back years?
Not off the top of my head.
2009 and 2010.
Yeah,
That's
it's been a
insane.
minute.
So that's 15 years ago. The last time, not even winning a series, the last time they went to the playoffs in back-to-back years. Half the league goes to the playoffs. More than half the league went for years during that time. So this fan base has deserved it. And before you go, I want to commend you. Because, we talked about the positive place that the Devils beat is in this year. And you're definitely a big part of that. I think what you're doing for the hockey writers is great. We're really looking forward to your continued coverage there. Love to hear that you're getting a full season credential, and we're getting even more out of you. That's the thing, is that I'm hearing a lot of we're giving more. We're giving more. We're giving, even like, we're doing more at Pucks Pittsburgh. So you're doing more at the Hockey Writers. I know you've brought on a couple new staffers over there over the summer to really bolster the coverage. So I really appreciate what you guys are doing. Thank you for coming out. Now you've been on here twice. Sam, you know what that means.
He's a good friend
Daniel
of the
is
podcast.
a good friend of the podcast. So good friend of the podcast, Daniel Amoia. I appreciate what you're bringing here, and we'll have you on again soon.
Thanks for having me. Glad it could work out.
Thanks, Daniel. That is Daniel Amoia of the Hockey Writers. Oh, yeah, what else comes with the being a good friend of the podcast? He can come to American Whiskey and have meals, drinks on us. I forgot about that. Yeah.
Gotta let him know.
Yeah.
Gotta let him know. Well, Sam, I think that's it. I think we did it. We did the thing. Do you have anything else before we go?
Yeah. I actually wanted to tell Daniel about my grimace theory, but I could tell him off air of that.
Okay.
But I'm going to make a bold prediction.
What's that?
I made that 4 or 5 years ago. The Devils would win the Stanley Cup in 2025. But it's 2025-26 season.
Okay. So you think they're winning it all?
Yeah.
What makes you think that?
In all seriousness, after talking to Chico, I kind of think that they're one player away and one healthy season away. With Florida being banged up right now and winning 2 in a row, went to the Stanley Cup Finals 3 years in a row. It may not be their year. They may not persevere. The big bad Boston Bruins have gone downhill.
Stink.
Carolina Hurricanes. The Carolina Hurricanes, they always remain like above average, but not elite. If you know what I
want
mean.
to talk about a team that's one piece away. I think Carolina is a great regular season team. I was unimpressed, and Daniel brought this up. The Devils, without legitimately half their roster, step for step at 5-on-5. Step for step. So, I just wasn't impressed. Freddie Anderson saved them in a couple games.
And it's funny
you can't rely on that.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because I was going to just say that their goaltending is always a problem in the playoffs, but in that series, it wasn't.
But it became a problem later on, right? Like
Yep.
it was a problem in
it's
the Florida
unsustainable.
series.
That's the bottom line. It's unsustainable in the playoffs. Everything will be exploited in the playoffs.
Yeah, it can't make it through 4 rounds. They do not have, and Sam, I don't want to get into this too much. I don't want to talk about it, but it's the reason why they, at one point, were willing to take the PR hit to take Carter Hart. And then they changed their minds because I think they didn't realize how impactful that was going to be. But they're looking at ways to fix it. And they just keep bringing back Anderson,
and the problem is with this team, they do a lot of good things, right? Like Rod Brind'Amour, re-signing him, as coach. But it just seems like the owner is always trying to take the shortcut way out in terms of budget with their budget.
I mean, they're $11 million under the cap.
Yeah. So, like I said, they're like above average, but they're having trouble being that elite team. The Rangers, I think, are going to be garbage. Toronto will always be Toronto. I think, it was indicative of last season. Okay, they got past the first round.
Will they, though? I kind of think they're going to stink this year.
No, what I mean is
Not
Toronto
stink.
being Toronto, meaning since 1967, they're not. They're not gonna make a serious run. Again, it's very interesting. My bold prediction is the Pittsburgh Penguins are going to make the playoffs. So, if there's a time in the East, it's probably now for the Devils. If they can stay healthy and if they can get that one guy mid-season.
I actually wrote about this. I wrote about the Eastern Conference thing. The Eastern Conference kind of stinks. It's Carolina.
I read that
it's
article,
the Devils.
by the way.
Thank you. It's Carolina. It's the Devils. It's Tampa. But something's off about Tampa. Tampa is great in the regular season, and just something in the playoffs just isn't clicking. And they face great teams. So, not trying to take anything away from them, but it's just not – they haven't got past the first round since they lost the Stanley Cup final in 22, I think.
Yeah.
In Toronto, I think their defense stinks. Unless Morgan Riley could be a 1A again, I think their defense stinks. And their goalies, one of their goalies is going through an issue. I don't know what it is, but he's not going to play a full season. The other one they just re-signed, and then the Metro, I know you said the Penguins can make the playoffs. I don't disagree with you because I think the Metro stinks. We talked about it with Ryan last week.
I think
it stinks.
I think they're going to be a sleeper team. I don't think the Penguins are fantastic. I think they're just going to sneak up on you because everybody wrote them off.
Just beat the bricks off the Rangers.
I know. That was amazing.
It was dominant. If Silvos or Sivos, I don't know how to say their goalie's name. He's good.
Silvos, yeah.
They might go somewhere. So
he's their surprising 1A right now.
Yeah. Yeah, Jari's not the 1A and they're there anymore. All right, but that's all I got, Sam. pucksandpitchforks.com. The season preview is coming out tonight. Sometime after midnight. The big article with all of our writers coming out tonight. I'm going to be putting it together. It's going to take me some time, but that's coming out tonight for your early morning convenience.
Yeah. Also, tomorrow, triple header opening night. We got the morning woo in the morning. We got Game Day Live. Vinny Parisi, Shorts Guy, and I are back. And, of course, Devils After Dark, after the game, getting rapid reactions from you, the fans. Can't wait to have Scotty back doing the night shift. Devils After Dark.
Liquid Metal has got to do the night shift.
Yeah. Yeah, Liquid Metal. Also, we'll be back at American Whiskey, the official home game bar of the Let's Go Devils podcast. 1 million downloads and counting. It's good to finally say that, Nick. 1 million downloads.
We broke 1 million.
Yes. They say the first million's the hardest. That's what they say.
They also say the first cut is the deepest.
Yeah. Now we're 999,000 downloads away from 2 million.
2 million.
Yeah. So,
gotta keep it moving.
Yep. All right.
Appreciate you people.
Yep. I want to thank all those tuning in. Thank you to Robert Aitken for coming on and Daniel Amoia. Till next time, let's go Devils.